So enough of the theory now, let's get started with Git. And the first step is, yes, let's install Git on Windows 11 and let's see what we get. So if you're watching and trying to get started, I would request you to please work along with me. I will surely take it slow so that you can pace yourself along with me. And don't worry, if you are working on Ubuntu, we have the installation steps for that as well. Keep watching. So if you're ready, let's move on to the working desk and install Git on Windows 11. So now let's install Git on Windows. So there's the Windows 11 operating system and 64-bit. But if you want to validate whether you already have Git installed on your machine or not, just type Git on your terminal or your command prompt. And you would receive this message, Git is not recognized as an internal or external command, operable program or batch file. So if this is what you're getting right now, then obviously you don't have Git installed, or there could be some variables that you might have installed but you're still facing this issue. So, but our main motive here is to install Git. So in order to install Git, first we have to go to the browser. So you can open a browser of your choice and just type install Git on Windows. And here you will see the site https://gitscm.com. Just right click on that and open this website. So this is Git's official web page. So where you can see that Git distributed as the new centralized. So they are actually promoting themselves in a way that they're saying that distributed is the way forward. And you have the standalone installer or a portable thumb drive edition. So what we are going to do is we are going to install the stable version, that is the standalone installer. And I'll just click on 64-bit Git for Windows setup. And I'll just click on this. So here you can see I have downloaded it. And I'll just click on this. And you will get the setup. So this is the installer. Just click on next. C program files Git. I want to install it on C drive. Then you just have to click next. It's okay. I actually had uninstalled Git. So maybe the folder actually already exists. So you can just click on yes. And here you can see you have additional icons on the desktop. You can just use that. You have Windows Explorer integration, Git Bash, Git GUI, large file support. So these are some of the features that Git has, and we'll discuss about them. Don't worry. You can just click on next and install it. You don't have to worry about anything other than that. And from this, you have to choose Git from command line and also from third-party software so that we can use this to avoid conflicts later on. And just keep on going along with this. Next, next, next. And just click on install. So I have skipped some of the steps, like I didn't choose accordingly or I didn't discuss about what exactly they mean. So when we are discussing about, like later on when we discuss about the features, we'll come back to this again. Don't worry. So this is the command prompt. I'll just type Git again, and if it is installed, it should give us the message, or it should give us the list of commands. If not, then it will throw us the error. So we have already installed it, but what happened is I had already opened this command prompt before prior to installing it. So for this to work, I have to just close it and I have to open a new command prompt. So I did close it, and now I have opened a new one, and when I type Git, it should give me the details. So if you see here, when I typed Git, it gave me the usage information. These are the common Git commands used in various situations: clone, init, add, mv, restore, branch, commit, merge, fetch, pull, push. And you can actually type git help and -a, and you can get some of the commands, or you can just type git help command name to read more about them. So it's like git -version. If you type this, you will get the version. So it is git version 2.38 for Windows. So this is the installation of Git on your Windows 11. Let's move on. Now that you have seen how we can install Git on Windows, let's not forget our open source operating system, that is Linux. So let's install Git on Ubuntu as well. Now this is your Ubuntu machine, and we are going to install Git on this one as well. So just right click on this, click on open in terminal. And here what we are going to do is we are going to just type git. Here, if you don't have git, and if you type the command, it will show you command git not found, but can be installed with sudo apt install git. So we can do it this way, or else we can go to the browser. If you are on Debian, such as Ubuntu, try apt-get. So they are also saying the same thing. So if you can just copy this here, let's just paste this command, sudo apt install git all, and you have to run the command as an administrator. So if you have administrator privileges, then it is very good to install git. And just once you have typed sudo apt install git -all, then you can just enter. So I'll just enter the password, and I'll continue. So it should install git for us. Okay, so it has installed. Now, in order to verify, let's type the command once again, git. See, again, we are getting the same details as we got on Windows. So what is the next command that we wanted to do? So it was git -version and enter. So it is git version 2.34.1 on Ubuntu. So now we have installed git on both Windows and Ubuntu. Now let's talk about Git repositories and how do we communicate with remote and local repositories. So this is your remote server, or what we also call as remote repository. And this, mind you, is not that it would only hold one repository. It could hold multiple repositories in the server. And that is why we tell that GitHub actually helps us manage multiple repositories or repositories in the server itself or on the cloud. And if you have enough permissions, you can actually clone them and make use of them. And that becomes the working copy on your machine once you clone the repo from the remote repository. And when you make the change on your local machine, you stage those changes and make them available for commit. So when you're working on your source code, you may be adding, updating, or even removing files. But whenever you hit a milestone or finish a part of the work, let for example, you finished working on a feature, or you just finished working on a bug fix. When you reach such milestones, it is recommended that you should add the files to a staging environment. And these operations you perform in your local repository. And once you have staged your files or code that you have, you need to commit those changes, and that will create a snapshot. And once you have committed, you can just push those changes to the remote repository using the push command. And if there are any changes already made to the file that you are currently working on, the remote repository will throw an error that you have incoming changes and it is creating a conflict with the code that you have. So you can pull the latest change from the remote repository or the remote server. And if there are any conflicts, you can perform a merge conflict operation and send in your code again. So these operations that I'm telling you are also some of the important concepts, and we'll surely discuss on that. Don't worry. And similar to what we have done now, other users can also perform the operations that we have made. They can clone, they can fetch, they can push, and they can pull. I hope you got the point about repositories here. I know it may not be clear at this point, like 100%, but we will do a hands-on demo that will surely help you. Now let's talk about yet another important concept, that is commits. So now let's see what is written here. Committing is the process which records changes in the repository. So as we already discussed about commits before, when you're working on your source code, you may be adding, updating, or removing files. But whenever you hit a milestone or finish a part of the work, like for example, you finished working on a feature or you just finished working on a bug fix. So when you reach such milestones, it is recommended that you should add the files to the staging environment by using the git add command. And once you have staged your files or code that you have, you need to commit those changes, and that will create a snapshot of those changes. And once you have committed, you can actually just push those changes to the remote repository using the git push command. So the word commit that you see here in layman terms is also called as snapshots. And the most important part mentioned here is commits are done locally. So that is what you do locally using a local Git server. Here, let's suppose you have made a set of changes, like you have added the files that you have worked on. So the process to ensure your code is secure is to follow the steps like you add the code, that is called staging. Then you commit the code by adding a commit message so that other team members and you as well understand why this change was made by the developer. So these are your changes. So these are the changes that you have, the files that you have actually written on your workspace. Then you add them using the command git add. And now the files are added locally. Then you commit the changes using the git command git commit. And then your snapshots are created, or your snapshot is created. Let's suppose in the next iteration you added 3 more files, but the previous files have already been committed. And in this case, when you perform a git status operation, the git status command displays the state of the working directory and the staging area. It will show what changes you have made in your local repository or local workspace. And these 3 files will be shown as new files that need to be added. And similarly, you hit the git add and these files are also staged. And that is how a developer actually performs its basic Git operations. And when we work on Git, we have our files, we add them, which stages the changes, then we commit the changes, and then the most important part comes where we actually send the code to the remote repository, where we use the git push command to push the changes to the remote repository. Look at this very carefully. These operations that you have are performed on your local repository, and this operates on your remote repository. So when you perform a git push, it pushes the changes to the GitHub remote repository. I hope you're getting the point here. Now let's see the flow of work here when it comes to Git. Let's suppose this is your work timeline or your work area or your workspace. This is where we stage, and this is the local repository. And this is GitHub, which is your remote repository, which has the database of the repositories and its metadata. When you have worked on your code, you first add them and you add them to the staging. When it comes to staging, you can commit the changes, and from your local repository, you can perform the push operation on the remote repository. So first, you add your changes, bring them to the staging area, and from the staging area, you actually perform the commit operation to the local Git repository. And then from the local repository, you perform a push operation onto GitHub, which is basically your remote repository. And if you're working on the code, there will be a situation where you would want to get the latest updates from the remote. So you perform the pull operations on your local from the remote server. And you have other operations such as checkout and merge, which will help you align your code with the latest changes. But for that, and to understand them, we need to keep moving forward. So I hope you understood the point here. Let's move on. Now let's talk about another important topic, that is Git branches. Let's read about this. Branching means you diverge from the main line of development and continue to do work without messing with that main line. In order to understand why branching is important, we need to look at this image once again. So we have 3 teams here working on a project. They have a common goal to create an awesome product. But even though they are working together, they can't work in collaboration if they don't have a defined path of their own. If all these teams work on the same feature, it would convolute the code and it would leave everyone in pain. Because the worst thing, apart from the features not getting finished on deadlines, is the code creating failures with regression. So each individual and each team must have their own path on which they work, which does not actually disturb anyone else. And to make this happen, we need branches. So now let's get back to the topic. So here, let's suppose in our repository, our main branch is the master branch. So the name of the branch is master, in other words. So in a way, this is a holy branch that should be protected from untested and unreviewed code. So if we want to protect this, then how do we add or modify the code in this branch? Here is the solution. If I am working on a new feature, I can create a branch from the main branch or even a commit and continue working in a separate stream of code that will have the latest code at that point of time. So I'll be working on that particular stream or a separate branch, but it'll have the latest code from the main branch at that given point of time. And I'll keep on adding my features and commits. And similarly, other users can create other branches with different names to add their code and work on it without disturbing the main branch and the code of other users. And once the code is complete and tested and reviewed, you can create a pull request to merge your changes from your feature branch to the master branch, like this. And that is why it is rightly said, the branches are copies of the source code that works parallel to the main version. So if I'm working on a new feature, I can actually create a branch from the main branch and continue working in a separate stream of code that will have the latest code at that point of time. And similarly, other users can actually create other branches with different names to add their code and work on it without disturbing the main branch. And once the code is complete, tested and reviewed, we can create pull request from our branch to the main branch. And if it is accepted by the admin or the one who has the permissions to merge the code, then that piece of code from your branch will be merged into the main branch. So I hope that was clear. Let's move on. Now that we have installed Git, that's our first step. Let's work on some basic operations with Git that will get us started. Like if we have in cricket, we need some warm-up games before the big matches in the World Cup. Think of this being similar to that. As we saw in the example before, the basic operations for developers to manage code are like creating repositories to store the metadata for the code. We create branches. We clone an existing repository. We actually push the code once we are done. And once we need like the latest code, we actually pull them. And the most important one would be committing the changes that we have made. Let's start off with them. Okay, so let's start off with the demo. So now what happens here is we need a source code. So let's suppose I'm a developer. The first thing that I want to do is I want to write the source code, isn't it? So once I've written the source code, I want it to be committed, or I want it to be, part of the Git repository. So as I already told you that for a developer, it is very important to have a chain where he can actually perform his operations with Git. So as we had already installed Git, we'll just type git -- version once again. And this will ensure that Git is successfully installed on your machine. So if you haven't installed it, then please do install. And I want you to do this along with me. So if you have any issues or doubts or anything that you're facing, then just please note them down in the comment section below. and I'll help you out. I'll just reply to the comment, or else I'll make a video where I'll explain some of the most commonly addressed problems. So for now, what happens here is I have a folder here. So this is a folder that is Pythoholic, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as a template for my Git repository or my working directory. So this folder that you see here contains a static website. It has some of so it has a properly functional static website with some of the functionalities of images that you can see here. So this is a very basic website, and I'm quite happy with this because this serves the purpose of what we want to achieve in this session. So now this is the source code, and I'm really happy with this. So I want to make this, or I want to share this with my teammates. So the first thing that I have to do is I want to create a Git repository. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to iterate to the path where this folder is. And here I want to create a new directory, which will be my website directory. So let me give it a name, website demo. So this is the directory name. And if you use mkdir is a Windows command which creates a directory. So if you can see, as I typed mkdir website demo, it actually created this folder. I hope you got it. And to enter inside that folder, what we need to do cd space the folder name. Now, once you have entered inside the folder name, this is where we would want to initialize a Git repository. So this is working in our local. We haven't connected to any remote repositories or GitHub yet. So this is the first step that we are going to do. The first thing is to initialize a Git repository. For that, you have to type git space init. So init is basically telling you that let's initialize a Git repository for ourselves so that we can work on this particular Git repository. So once you have typed git init, just press enter. Initialized empty Git repository in the path that you see, and it has created a .git folder inside which Git will have its bare template, or the template that it has. So within which we have folders for the basic Git configuration. So if you can see, this is the hidden folder. So if you want to see this, you have to actually enable hidden files. So if you're not able to see this, then just go to folders and options and enable the hidden folder or hidden view hidden files setting. So once you have done that, you'll be able to see this. If you just double click on this, you will see a lot of things like the head, what description it has. Currently it will not have any description. What is the configuration that is currently working on, what are the references, what are the objects, the hooks. All these things are very complicated at the beginning stage. So we will discuss about them, but let's not confuse ourselves with these things for now. We'll go step by step. So just close this. So our main motto was to create the Git repository. So we have done that. And if you might be thinking like, what would be the name of the Git repository? So the name is given by the directory. As I mentioned, website demo. So that will be my repository name. So now this is the content that I want to add into my Git repository. So I'll just copy this, right click this, select all, copy this. Okay. Copy this. Close this, open website demo. This is the repository folder. Now this will become my workspace, and I've kept Pythoholic in this folder as my backup. So I'll just paste it. Paste all the things. So this is the index.html file. This is the main file. It has the library files. It has the JavaScript files. It has the CSS files. It has the images and everything, so that it actually works for me. It also has a README file. But for me, what I want to do is I want to make sure that I have stored and committed these changes that I have made into the repository. So for that, what we need to do is we need to go back. So we have made some changes to the repository, isn't it? So the first thing that I want to tell you before moving forward is, some of you might be having a doubt that why are we creating repository just by using git init? Why are we not using any other options? There are so many with various options that I can use to create a git repository. I know that. See, if I have to talk about that, you can actually create a bare repository as well. I don't want to go deep into this because it is very confusing. So what you need to do is you can actually create a bare repository by typing git init -- bare. So this bare flag, what it does is basically creates a repository that does not have a working directory. So if it does not have a working directory, what does it mean? It means that you cannot edit files and you cannot commit changes into that repository. And normally we create a bare repository only to perform push and pull operations, but never to perform a direct commit. So that will confuse you a bit at this point of time. So let's just focus on the simple things first. And that is why we work on a non-bare repository. So we have bare repositories and we have non-bare repositories. So bare repositories are mostly like your central repositories. So don't worry about that. Just focus on what we are doing right now. And that's what we should do. Now that we have added the files, how will we know that there are changes in this repository, that we have made changes in this repository? So for that, what we need to do is we need to do a git status. So this git status will tell me what are the changes that are present in my working directory. Okay. Let's expand this. I think this should be enough. So here what it is doing is git status. I have done a git status on master branch, on branch master. So here you need to understand that when you create a git repository, there will be only one branch, that will be your master branch. As I told you, that will be our main branch, and that is what master is. It is our main branch. So now currently we are going to add files to the staging area. So if you want to add files, you can just do a git add, and you can basically add a single file, or you can just perform a git add star, which will add all the things at once. So for example, we have a readme.txt here. And before that, I just want to ask you once again, why do we have this option of git add? What actually we achieve from this? We basically tell Git that these are some of the untracked files that are present, and we need to add that to Git so that Git knows that these are the files that are important to us, and these are the files that we will in future commit as well, because these are a part of the changes that we want to be preserved in the repository. So the first thing for us is to add or stage these changes. So for the first example that I wanted to give, I can just give git add and I can add a single file. So that will be my readme.txt. So now it has added. If I do git status again, you see no commits yet, changes to be committed. So now it has recognized. So it is telling changes to be committed. Before, no commits yet, only untracked files, the whole list of files that we had. Now we have changes to be committed, new file readme.txt, and the other files that you see here are untracked files. So what we can do, we can just do a git add star. Okay. Now it is giving a few warnings because of the CRLF error. So a warning. So it's not a problem. Don't worry about that. Let's do a clear. CLS. I just what do you say, go back to the Ubuntu times or the Mac times. So it's a problem with me while switching platforms. Okay, not a problem here. So now we perform a git status again. Now you can see we have all the files listed that are a part of the working directory right now. So what we have told Git that we are going to add these files, and we want them to be a part of this repository. But in order to make them a part of the repository, we must commit them. So in order to commit, what we need to do is we need to type git space commit. Commit is basically the command that helps us to create snapshots of our changes. And there are multiple options with which you can create snapshots. So I'm not saying about multiple options. I'm just saying there are various parameters that can be used along with the git commit. And there are various flavors to this. So let's suppose I just type git commit and let's see what happens. So here what it is telling is, please enter the commit message for your changes. Line starting with hash will be ignored and an empty message aborts the commit. So if suppose you are going to commit any change, what Git tells us is that every commit that you make should have a message, so that in future, if any developer or any user wants to view the code, he knows that at what particular commit, what changes were made. But it is better for for developers or for the users who are going to use this code after you have worked on it, so that it will help them understand the code better. So that if you are not in the team or if you have left the organization, they can still understand, you're reading the commit, that these are the changes that have been made in this particular commit and these are the changes that have been made to these particular files. So this is really important. So what I would do is I would just add first type I, it will go to the insert mode. You can see the insert mode is activated. So I'll write initial commit for source code. So this is my message. Okay. And I'll just type escape and colon WQ. So now it has added all the files in create mode and it has created a snapshot. Okay. So master root commit. So this is the first commit that we have made. Git commit 7182 E0D. Now let's see what happens if we type git status on master branch, nothing to commit, working, tree clean. So that is a very good thing, isn't it? We have committed our changes. And there is one more option where we can actually pass the message directly along with the command. So I'll just show you one demo here for this. So let's suppose I make some changes to this index.html file. This could be a small change, this could be a big change. I can change multiple files, but let's suppose this is a part of a significant change that I'm making. So let's open it with the Visual Studio. So let's suppose I change the title here. So let's suppose I just want to give it like testing, Pythoholic testing. And I'll just minimize this. Now I'll do a git status. See, changes not staged for commit, modified index.html. Now it is telling me that index.html has been modified. So if I want to commit this change, what I need to do? I can either use git add and do it with this file, like git add and the file name. This will work. Or else I can directly commit using -a. And this will only include modifications to the tracked files. So what is a tracked file? As I already told you, when you are in a staging environment, when you add the file, it gets tracked. Because prior to that, it is an untracked file from Git. So index.html was previously added in our previous step. So in historical terms, Git knows this file, that this file was present in the working directory before, and we have made some changes to this file. So this is already a tracked file. That is why it is telling changes not staged for commit. Otherwise it would have told this is a new file and we need to track it and we need to add it. So now you have to understand the difference between a tracked file and an untracked file. The new file that you add is an untracked file. Git doesn't know about it. Git might think that that is a useless file that is in the repository and it would want you to remove that. But for us, it is important. So index.html is important. So what I would do is I would just add this option git commit -a. And if suppose I want to just commit it using a commit message, then I can use the -m parameter as well. But the beauty of Git here is I can do both at the same time. So let's suppose I want to just commit it, commit test only using am. That's it. I just want to add this simple message git commit -am. Along with that, I just want to add this. Now a new commit has been created, 7457505, and commit test only using am. This is a message, 1 file change, 1 insertion, 1 deletion. Now what happens is I'll just show you the difference here. Let us open this and let us create a new file. Text document. Let this be youtube.txt, and inside this I'll write this is Pythoholic YouTube channel, and I'll save it. Now what happens here is this is the new file, and what I'll do is I'll make another change inside index.html. So let's open this. So I had this testing, then I'll add another string to this one. Let's suppose we'll add it like a demo. Okay, so we just want to see what happens when we make changes, isn't it? So that should be perfectly fine for us. So just minimize this. We have added, so we have modified index.html and we have added a new file. Let's see the git status. Let's do a CLS. Now git status. Here you can see we have modified index.html and now this is the untracked file. I told you historically Git recognizes this file. That is why it is telling that changes not staged for commit. Otherwise it would have told that this is also a untracked file. But for you, for Git, youtube.txt is a new file. So it is telling I don't know this file. If you want to track it, then please make sure that you do a git add to this particular file. Now let's see what happens if I don't add this file. What will happen if I do git commit -am, and then I'll just give it a message. So as I already told you, -a will only include modification to tracked files. Now you have to just tell me if I perform this command, which file will be added and committed and which file will not be added and which will not be committed. So that is your task. So I'll give you some time. You can just comment on the video as well. So let's see. Commit tracked changes. Okay. So I'll get commit -am. So -a is for including modifications to tracked files. Those that have been added with git add at some point time in the history, and m is to append the message so that we don't have to go again and again into that file mode and open it and then add it and save it. So we don't want that. We want it to keep it simple. We want to actually keep it simple. So that's what. Now I'll just hit enter. Now you can see that master, this is the commit message, commit hash value. This is the commit message. 1 file's changed, 1 insertion, 1 deletion. Now if I do a git status, which file do you think would have been committed? See, it is not including untracked files. Okay. So now this file is not added. but there are options for us available where we can actually perform git add and git commit in the same what do you say, in the same action itself, but we'll discuss that later. I'll not confuse you, but the simple way we can do right now is we can do a youtube.txt git space add space youtube.txt, and I will try and do and see if it works for this one. And I'll try a git commit -am, and I can just type m also, not a problem here, because this would be a track change. Okay, so commit untracked changes. Let's see if this works. Okay, yeah, we can do this because and basically it is performing the same operation, but we are doing it in a single line. So this is also a way for you to actually do this. So it's a good way. Now let's go back. There is one more thing that I wanted to show you. So you can see we have made these changes, right? So let's suppose I just remove it and I just website progress. Okay, progress. Let's suppose I make this change, and there is an option like let's suppose this is the one file that I've changed. What would happen if I am changing another file as well? Let's suppose I'll just delete this. So now we have changed two files, and let's suppose I will change something else in this position. Let's suppose I'll just change it to my new changes 1. So I have changed at 3 places. This one, here in the title section, and here as well. So I have changed the youtube.txt as well, and the index.html as well. So I have multiple changes now. So now we have multiple changes. So what we are going to do, we'll see the we'll obviously check the changes using git status. So now here, if you see, changes not staged for commit are basically 2, because we have modified 2 files. But maybe there are multiple changes that we have made within these files, or we have modified multiple files. And sometime what happens is it is better to see what differences that we have done or what changes that we have done in these files. And for that, we have a command called git diff. It's a very straightforward command. Diff basically refers to difference. So git diff. And if you just type git diff and press enter, so the line that we have actually modified is this, and the new line that we have added is this one. So the green part, the plus symbol that you see here, it is basically the new content. Similarly, on index.html, we have changed Pythoholic testing demo to Pythoholic website progress, and this minus that you see here indicates that this has been deleted and this has been added. Not in the literal sense, but when you try to understand it, it is like this has been modified and this is the new change that has been in place. Here as well, this li tag that we had here, we have changed the drop down 1 to new changes 1. So now you're able to see what exactly you have changed here as well. So now we had 3 changes. So 3 changes, we are able to see it. So it's a very good thing. We know it'll tell you what position the code is, what position the line and everything. It will tell you like where exactly we have changed. So that's a good thing. But along with this, we have other options as well that can tell you, like if you type git diff -- color words. So here what happens is it also shows you, it'll basically have a special mode for highlighting changes with much better granularity. So here, if you can see, it is just trying to tell you that in this line, this YouTube word was there that has been deleted. the red part that you see, the red part, it has been deleted. So that is what it is trying to tell you. And here as well, you can see this was changed. This line was changed. The title tag was changed to this one in the green part. And here as well, this portion was changed to this. Because one was constant in both the changes, it is not highlighting this as a change. It is only highlighting this portion. So this is also a good way to understand, like if we want to have any other options to view the diff, this is one more way. But I would say just git diff gives a very good understanding of what exactly the change has been, because when you see the structure with git diff, I really like the plus minus because it actually highlights what the changes have been. So I like this one. Okay. So now what happens is we have added the files, we have committed the files, we have learned how we can add messages as well. We also know how we can actually create the repository. Let's see by using a command git log, and let's see what commits that we have made in our repository. So if you can see here, using git log, you can see what are the commits that we have made. So this is basically the first commit, initial commit to the source code, and every commit that I told you will have a hash value. So this is the hash value for one particular commit, and it will be unique to each of the commits. So when we go up in the direction, so you will see the new commits that have been placed, and this being the latest commit. And the head, pointing to master. Remember, head here is a very simple and complicated term. When you want to get confused, head is the perfect friend for you. He'll confuse you like anything. So most importantly, what happens here is your head will be your master, because there is only one branch here, and I have committed all the changes to this. And if suppose I want to view this in a single line, git log hyphen pretty equal to one line. This is one more command, git space log space hyphen pretty equal to one line. So in one line, it will give me all the list of commits that we have made. And these are very good actually. I really like this way of looking into the commits, because it gives me a simple way to understand what are the commits that we have made. And here, that's a very good thing that you can learn. So you can basically do a git diff, or you can find differences between two commits as well. So let's suppose I want to see what was the change that was between the first commit and the last commit. So I'll copy the commit hash for the first commit and space the commit of the last commit that the hash value of the last commit that I have made. So I'll copy both of them, and I'll type git space diff space the hash value of the first commit and the hash value of the last commit, and I'll just hit enter. And here you can see I have the differences. So we have added this file, and I have added this line to this. So it is not showing me change that we saw just now recently before making any change. So this is what we were trying to explain. Like, let's suppose the commit is telling that in the initial portion, the initial commit of the source code, this file youtube.txt was not there. Now it is there. So it is just highlighting one new entry. So that is why the plus is there. Otherwise it would have added a minus like this. Initially, in the initial code and the first iteration, it was just Pythoholic. Later on, we added this Pythoholic testing demo. So that is why it is giving you this type of difference. Now, it is very important for us to understand that what we are actually working on. So if suppose I just want to see the branch that we have right now, it is master. So currently we are working on the master branch. This is the main branch for us. And you can also type git branch hyphen all to see all the branches. But now that we don't have branches, so that is why it is showing only one branch. But remember there is option for you to create branch from a specific other branch by giving that branch name in the command itself. So that is not a problem. So don't get confused. So what I'm trying to tell is, whenever you're working on something, make sure that you are working on the correct branch that you are willing to. Sometimes what happens is, unknowingly we don't see what branch we are working on and we try to make changes to that, and sometimes we push also the changes. So that's a very big no. So make sure that you are working on the correct branch and then only move forward with your changes. So that's what I wanted to tell you. Now, if I do a git branch -all, I should see 2 branches, because I created develop from the master branch. Now that I'm on the master branch, but I've created a new branch called develop. Let's suppose I want to work on develop. I don't want to make any changes to the master branch. I just want to keep it clean. So what I can do, I can just check out to that particular branch. To check out, I can just type git space checkout space the branch name and hit enter. One moment. Let me just go back. Git checkout master. Okay. Git diff. Okay, let me just commit these changes. Otherwise it will be a problem. Oh, no. Let's go back. Git checkout develop. Let these changes be here itself. Okay, so now I have created a branch from master, but we have new changes here. So if suppose I commit, staying in git branch name develop, let's see, git branch. So now I'm in develop, isn't it? Let's see what changes we have. Git status. So these are the 2 changes in my develop branch now. Now you see, I'm not working on master, I am on branch develop. Let's do a git commit -name new changes to develop. So this is my commit message. Let's hit enter. Now 2 files changed, 3 insertions, 3 deletions. So these are the changes that I have in the develop branch, and this is the commit hash. So this is a very good thing. Now what happens is, if I do a git log here, now my head is currently develop, and this is my change, and this is my new change to develop that I just recently committed. Let's do a CLS git log. So now what happens is, what Git is telling you here is, this is the commit, and master, the latest commit on the master is commit untracked changes. So this is the latest commit on master. And the head right now is positioned at develop because that is the current working branch that I am using right now in my workspace. And this new change to develop is a new commit that has been made in the develop branch. So we have 2 branches here. Let's suppose I'll go to check out master. I'll go to master. Here, let's suppose I create a branch testing, and I type enter. Let's do a git branch again. So now the current working directory is master, but we have created a branch called testing. There is a way where you can actually create the branch and check out to that branch at the same time. Let's suppose you type git checkout. So git checkout command is to switch to a branch, and if you type -b and type a branch name, and if that branch name does not exist, it will create a new branch from the current branch that you're working on, and it will check out to that. Before that, let's check out to testing. Now if I do a git branch, here you can see I created the branch testing, but it did not check out to that particular branch. I was still in master. Now if I have to do when I did git checkout testing, it switched to that particular branch. Let's suppose I want to create a branch and switch to the branch automatically. So for that, what I can do, checkout -b release, and just type enter. switch to new branch, release. Now if you do a git branch, you will see it has created the new branch and it has switched to the new branch as well. So this is a very good thing. Now what happens here is, let's suppose you want to delete a branch, which is very dangerous, so don't do that. But just for experimentation, we can do it. So git branch. So type git branch, git space branch, small d, and the branch name. Let's delete the branch that we are currently working on, and let's see if it throws any error. You can you cannot delete release because it is checked out at this particular repo. So you cannot delete the branch that you're currently working on. So that's a good thing. Otherwise, it is a very big problem. Accidentally, if you do these things, then it's a very big problem. Now what happens here is, let's delete the testing branch. So okay, deleted branch testing. This was the hash, so not a problem. Now do a git branch again. Now that branch is gone. Now that branch is gone. Now let's get back to our branch that we had created, develop. And previously we had added the command. Let me go back to, okay. So as you can see, release and master are both at the same commit level because I had created release from master, and head for develop is at a different place because I had committed new changes to develop which were not a part of master. So that is why it is showing different commit levels to this. But in a scenario where you would want to basically compare both the branches to see what are the differences between them. So what I can do here is I can do git diff. Then the branch would be develop. Master. Let's suppose I do a master. Then dot develop. So if I use this command, so what git will do is it will compare the tip of both the branches. So basically tip of both the branches is the latest commit of both the branches, or the head. And it will display the differential between both these to show you the modifications that have been made to these, or the comparison between these two branches. So what we can do here is we'll just type git space diff space master dot develop, and we'll just hit enter. Now you can see these are the changes. Now what happens here is, now that I have worked on the changes that I wanted to do, as I already told you, I have created a separate branch to keep working on the changes that I want, but I did not want to affect the main branch or the master branch. Now the time has come for me to basically add my changes to the master branch. So for this, let's do a git branch again so that we have an idea. So currently I am in develop and I want to merge the changes into master. So for that, what I need to do is I need to go to master first. So now I am in master. If you don't believe me, I'll just show you. I'm in master. And if I want to merge the changes from develop into master, the only thing that I have to do is git space merge. This is the merge command. So it will merge the changes from develop to master. And from where do I need to merge the changes? I need to merge it from develop, staying in the master branch. So I'm in the master branch right now. If I do a git merge develop, so I am telling git that git please merge the changes from develop into my branch that I'm currently working on. Okay. So now the update has taken place. So these are the commits that have been collaborated between, and now 2 files changed, 3 insertions and 3 deletions. Okay, so let's do a CLS again. Okay, now see, master and develop are having the new changes now. So they are in the same line. And that is how you play around with your Git repository. And this is purely local that you're doing right now. We haven't yet interacted with the remote repository, so don't worry about it.